Ever wondered how to make a perfect popcorn bowl that is just for you? Well, today I'm going to show you how to create an individual custom pottery bowl that's not only unique, but it's perfectly sized for your snack cravings. So we're kind of diving in here, getting straight off the bat. We are grabbing our clay. I always make more than one at a time. So with that being said, I'm prepping for 3 different things, and I do personally like to measure these. I have different sizes for everything. If you are like me, you have a tiny little book hidden somewhere in the studio that has all of your sizes and everything, so then you don't have to guess every single time you try to make something. I don't want to have to guess. I just want to know what I've done over the past 10 years, and I know what works now. And it took me a good solid 5 years to be able to figure that out, to know my sizes at least. So first things first, we have to center it. And as you can see, that's my handy dandy little notebook over there. And I'm just making sure that I have the design in my head before I start throwing. I even draw it out literally with my hands. My brain is so visual. I have to physically see it. And if I don't see it, it's not going to get created. I don't know if any of you guys are like that. I 100% am. I have to have a photo. And if I don't have a photo of an idea, I have to draw it. So I have notepads and drawing pads all over my house for when I have a concept that I've never seen done before. All right, let's get throwing. My elbows are down. I'm sitting super close to that wheel, and we are pushing with the left hand. My right hand is that tattooed hand, and it is pulling up and in. We want to see the clay physically moving. This video is going to be full on educational. We are really centering, and we're pushing this down. I'm going to show you guys how to throw this twice in this video so you can really kind of get the concept and see it at different angles. So we have our little hockey puck here, and I am at our studio, so I had to edit a lot of this because there was a lot of talking and questions that were happening. So you guys get to see that little portion because I didn't edit that part. But now we're going to open it. As you can see, my elbows are still down. So I'm opening, and usually here I would check my thickness, but I was talking and I did not check my thickness. So check your thickness, you guys. You want to be about 1/4 of an inch. So we're going to open it. Because of this design, I will show you a little clip over here. But because of this design, we don't want the base to be super wide. We want it to be sturdy so it can stand up if it's full, but we don't want it to be super open. So I am trying really hard to make sure I'm paying attention to that as I am throwing this. So now we are going to create our little donut here. Our thumb is at that base, really giving us that indent. And then we are going to go up and in, because we want to keep this very, very strong, because we're going to stretch it pretty wide at the top once we get a little bit closer to the end. This concept and this design is very simple, but it is a cool one once it's done. I would like to be able to tell you that I have a bunch of these at my house, but all of my friends have stolen them. So I don't have any anymore. It is just kind of a fun one. But as we're going, remember keeping those elbows down. My left hand is very tucked because I obviously can't keep it down on my leg. So we are keeping a sturdy foundation here the entire time. And after every pull, we regroup our rim. So if you have not seen any of my videos before, I really go into how important regrouping the rim is. We want to make sure we get all the way to the top and then squish it back down. That makes it so it stays balanced throughout your entire piece. So now this step's a little different because now we're going to create the actual bowl part of this. So watch my hands, really making sure they're touching, and I am slowly flailing. I can't say that word for some reason, flailing this out. Rose from the future here. Flailing means to wave or swing wildly, and that is exactly what we're trying not to do. So I just did all of that wrong, so don't listen to me. Just meant to say pull that out and don't flail it because you don't want it to wave and swing wildly. So, okay, bye. I'm still regrouping that rim, and I'm just going to slowly create a bowl here. Don't try to do it all at once. It will collapse if you try to do it all at once. We need to stay stable the entire time, and we want even walls. If I cut this in half once we're done, I still want it to be the same thickness all the way through. It shouldn't look wobbly. If you guys can see, it doesn't even look like the rim is moving too much around my fingers. That's going to change once I start pulling this because I'm really altering this top. And I'm pulling and then my hands touch again. Remember, your fingertips are touching throughout all of your throwing process. No matter what you're throwing, our hands are best friends. They should not ever not be connected throughout that piece. Pottery is a balance, and we really don't want to disturb that balance. So now I'm starting where I'm going to divot because now I'm shaping. So my inside fingers are doing all the work here. My outside is making sure I don't push too hard and this collapses. And I'm slowly making a bowl. And we're going to regroup that rim again. Your rim's going to start getting wobbly because we are like really pulling this out. I want that base to stay the same size because we're going to trim. So you guys will see that later on in this video, but we will trim that out. For bowls, I always use a yellow rib. I love this rib. You would have to fight me to make it so I don't use this rib when I'm making bowls. I have a issue with doing it with just my hands because I just feel like I never can get it like perfectly round with my fingers. So I really do utilize tools a lot of times when I'm shaping. The next tool that I use is actually a wooden knife, and I have grounded one of the sides to be completely flat. And the reason I do that is because then I can use it as a straight edge. The wood makes it so I can actually glide it. If I get that a little bit wet, then I'm going to create a small little ledge for the lid to sit on. And I know this is a weird thing because I am going to create a little lid. It's going to be the catch for the popcorn kernels. So I am creating a tiny little divot inside of here. And the next throwing video, you can see this a little bit better. This one you can't because I'm just on the side. But here I am doing what I call the pottery check or the potter's check, making sure that you're actually even, leaning back, and really checking your piece. So let's do this all again. And I am going to show you from a up or down. I don't know what to call this, but the upper side of things so you can actually kind of see where my hands are going and what this is supposed to look like. Let's center again, and I'm going to go over centering a little bit because I know I have a centering video, so if you guys are wanting to focus a little bit more on centering, go watch that. I know that's one of the main reasons, the hardest thing that you can do as a beginner potter. So what I like to say is I am scooted up very close to this wheel. My elbows are down. My left hand is pushing. My right fingertips are pulling, and my hands are always touching. Always touching. And I am physically moving that clay. And if you guys watch my hands as I'm centering, my hands do not untouch. So unless I'm getting water, they go up all the way together and I create that traffic cone, and then they go down all the way together. And then I'm going to squish this down to create my hockey puck. I like to do this with a sponge in my hand. If you guys saw, I kind of squirted a little bit of water there. It makes it so I throw a lot faster when I'm not having to dunk my hands in water constantly. And I don't use that much water. You guys can kind of see my splash pan. This is my second or third pot that I've already been throwing. So I'm not a huge water person, but it just takes time to get there. And then we are going to compress and compress because compressing is important. Even though a lot of potters will say that it's not, it is whatever you believe. You do you, boo-boo. Okay. Now I'm going to regroup my rim at the very bottom, creating my little donut. My left hand, my thumb is pushing that clay in. My right hand is squeezing the round part of that donut. And both my hands at the same time are going up and in. And I am slowing my wheel down here. I'm not trying to zoom through this part. I want to make sure that I do my first pull, and it is a very good, tall first pull. You guys can see how now I have a volcano. It went from a donut to a volcano real quick because I stayed with my hands together and I stayed smooth that whole time. Now we are starting our first actual pull all the way at the bottom of the bat. Do you see that little divot? My hands are going to be touching, and I'm going to pull all the way to the top, pretending like my fingers are touching inside and outside of that clay, and then I'm going to regroup that rim. Whenever you take your hands off, remember, take your hands off really slow, one at a time. Don't ever take both your hands off real fast because all you are doing is knocking it off balance again, and you're going to have to restart. And your pot will be wobbly, and there's no fixing it from then. So we're starting all the way at that base again, slowly pulling. You guys can kind of judge how fast my wheel is going based off the clay that's on it. I'm not going super, super fast, but I do throw a little bit faster than most potters, I think. Most potters that I've talked to, at least, I'm a little quick. So go your speed. Just remember, you can't do a pull unless you've done a full circle around that bat. So that is important. And then I'm regrouping that rim again, adding a little bit of water and starting at that base again. Now this pull, we're changing things up. We're going to start shaping again, just like we did the last pot. I'm pulling, but I'm going really slow because I need to be in control this whole time. You guys can start this, like your pull out, at any portion of this. I know visually how I want this to look. So if you wanted the base to be lower, if you wanted it to be taller, wherever your bowl starts, that is 100% up to you. This is just how I do them. This is a concept that I just came up with a long time ago, and I fell in love with it. And I used to sell these in galleries and stores all over Arizona. And now I just make them for YouTube for fun because I don't have time to sell in stores anymore, which is kind of cool. So here we go, and I'm actually starting to physically push that out. You guys see that? My sponge is acting as a resistance, making sure that I am not going to plop this all over the place. Adding a little bit of water and pulling this back. And I'm always in my 3 to 4 o'clock zone, okay? I am always on the right-hand side. When I do my pulls, my wheel is spinning to the left, just counterclockwise. Oh my gosh, I can't. But my wheel is going to the left. My hands are on the right-hand side because this is how I was thrown, how I was shown, and how I was taught. And every place that I've ever gone to that I've done workshops at, this is how they tell me is the proper way to throw. So that's another thing that I'm going to tell you. You do you, boo-boo. There's no rules in the art world, completely at least. Don't fight me in the comments about that, though. I do it this way because this is the way that I have had success with, and this is the way that I teach because I see potters try to do it the other way, and they have so many issues and errors, and then as soon as I get them back on this side and how I show people how to do it on this side, they like grow so fast, and they can actually do what they were trying to do so quick. So it's very controversial, but it's just how I do things, and it's how I'm showing you guys. So, you know, I don't know. Look at us go. We're using, you guys can kind of see the inside of that pot a little bit more now, so it's kind of exciting because I really wanted you to see like where the hole is in the bowl, because if you fill this baby up with popcorn and you have all those annoying little kernels, it's all going to go down there. That's the whole point of this concept, like the whole point of this design. Fill it up with a little bag of popcorn. The little popcorn is yours, and you're not going to deal with all the weird little kernels or anything like that. It just goes away, and it's kind of nice. So I am just making sure the bowl portion of this is the way that I like it. I'm really taking time here, going slow, shaping it out the way that I want it to look, doing our little pottery lean to make sure that it looks good, not just from the top, but actually from the side. That is so important. Please make sure to actually check your pots from the side. I can't express that enough. So I'm just kind of smoothing everything out with my red rib. I use a lot of different ribs. My yellow rib, I use mostly for bowls to shape. I love the shape of the yellow rib. My red rib, it's more flexible. You can really use it for anything. Here I am with my wooden tool again. I'm using that flat side, and I'm holding the base on the outside, and then I'm going to push in with that wooden tool on the inside of that pot. And it's just like a tiny little gallery. It's nothing crazy. It's just a tiny little gallery right there. Clean it all up. Make sure it's not sharp. Don't leave it sharp, y'all. Okay, we don't want kids to use this and then cut their little fingers. Like, don't make a baby cry. Okay. And we're just smoothing everything out because pottery should be soft and beautiful unless it is a sculpture or something that is going to hurt you. And my pots shouldn't hurt you because I don't do those kind of things. So we're just kind of cleaning it all up, doing the lean. I need a sticker that says doing the lean. Somebody send that to me. Just don't have a photo of me doing it because that's embarrassing. Okay, we're regrouping this rim, and then I'm going to show you guys how to trim.
Baby girl, you are so pretty, 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 pretty. Baby girl, you are so pretty, 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 pretty. Females magic just touching me, trick me, trick me, trick me. 'Cause baby girl, into the night. It's cause I know you were invited. The only reason that this dress is skin tight is cause I thought that you would like it. I'm only gonna...
Hello. Welcome again to Trimming 101. So I have a gift and grip. If you guys do not have a gift and grip, you can use little pieces of clay. You can use a chuck, whatever you have. I love the gift and grip. I can't imagine a studio without it now because I've used it for so long. It's not 100% reliable, so I take that in consideration when I'm doing things. I love chucks a lot too. I use those a lot in the studio. But this guy is perfect for what I'm trying to make right now. So I am starting at the base and I'm just trimming off that extra edge right now. You guys can see the shape that I'm already going for. I want a very smooth base and I'm going to add little ridges to it. I'm really just taking weight off here. And then I'm starting right in that middle and I'm only working on the right hand side. So I start in the middle and glide my tool all the way to the edge, just like pulling a pole on your wheel when you're throwing. Trimming to me is the same concept. You want to go all the way through. You don't want to stop because then you're going to have weird bulky spots. So go all the way through for what you're doing, unless you're doing designs. So here I am adding little designs to this one. I'm going to leave this one raw and then I'm going to flip it and just trim some of that weight and get this baby how I want it. If I want it nice and smooth, we can kind of go from there. I sped this up way fast so you guys didn't have to sit here and watch me trim forever. And last but not least, going to make the tiny little piece that goes in that little gallery inside of our bowl. So this is like the popcorn catch, I guess you would call it. So I am getting the tables wet because if you don't wet the tables, you can get silicosis. We talk about it a lot in the studio because it is so dangerous. And I really wanted to show you guys me throwing this tiny little piece of clay because if you think you know how to throw clay, you are wrong, okay? You don't know how to throw clay properly. It is so important to learn how to throw a slab, and maybe I'll just do an entire video on throwing a slab. That would be a good one to share with you guys. But throwing a slab to get it actually flat instead of bubbly is so important. So I threw my slab, threw it in the slab roller to get it all even all the way throughout the piece. And now I'm just taking my wooden rib that has a straight edge and I'm smoothing it all out. I don't want any canvas lines. I want this to be very, very, very perfectly put with the glaze. I do the front and the back. I don't want any texture on these. And then I'm going to go get cookie cutters because I want these to be actually perfectly round. We have a ton of different sizes in our studio. So depending on what you are doing, you can pretty much find a good, perfectly round cookie cutter. So I'm going to get this wet with a very damp, practically dry sponge because we don't want to add any more moisture to these. And then I'm going to go grab my cookie cutters. So I'm just kind of sizing them up to make sure that they are not just going to fall right in because that has happened. So make sure to size them a little bit bigger. They do shrink. So make sure to know your shrinkage ratio on your clay body. But these guys don't have to be like a perfect fit, but I think we can get it pretty stinking close. So you can throw these if you want. To me, it's easier just to slab them. I like to half slab, half throw a lot of times. And you have a lot more creativity and a lot of creative freedom. Pottery you got a lot of freedom in this. So I'm going to create these little circles and I'm going to speed up me smoothing these out because that took way longer than what it really should have. So you really do have to take your time because you have to remember clay has memory. So if you are messing with these too much, they're going to warp. And they're already more susceptible to warping anyways, so you don't want to sit there and mess with them. You want to make sure they stay flat and they're not all wobbly from the get-go. But when I was cleaning up the edges to make sure they're not sharp, it ended up taking forever. So I'm going to reuse all the clay that I can. So I always wedge clay back. So you guys will see me ram's head wedge. I'm going to fix everything, make sure that I can still use this later, and just roll it back up. And then that piece is usable again. We don't need to throw scraps away. And this is where I was talking, where I just have a damp sponge and I'm just slowly wiping the edges. And as you guys can see, I thought I was done. I was like, yay, that was it. But I always flip them over because you always want to flip them. But then I saw that these had a lot of little ridges on here because of the cookie cutter that I used. It had clay stuck to it and I didn't check that. So I had to sit here and rub and rub and rub and rub and get these all nice and smooth. And it took a little bit longer than what I would have liked. And then while filming, I think I forgot to show you guys how to add the little circles, but you guys will see them. It's literally just another cookie cutter. You cut out little circles. I usually do an odd number, so I like to do 5. So you guys can kind of see the finished product here. I just added 5 little pieces. I glazed these babies, and that's it. I leave the back raw, and I glaze everything else. And it's beautiful. And you just throw some popcorn in there. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Let me know in the comments what you think, and don't forget to like and subscribe. We are constantly putting out new videos, and we hope we, are making stuff and doing stuff that you guys like to actually watch and you're learning from us. So let us know in the comments. All right, bye.